welcome to the First Issue Club, a comic book podcast. We're your weekly reading club for what kind of issues? The first ones. The gateway into the new adventures of the world in the comic book form. We don't talk about just that all the time. Sometimes we get into comic book news. We're going to do that in a little bit. But first, I've got the Budget King here. Hey.
Hey, I'm back.
I'm Mike D. Obviously, I'm back. It's my birthday the other day.
It was Groundhog Day.
I'm 21.
Over and over again.
I can finally drink.
I had a friend that said on Facebook that she needs to pretend that her age is under 29 to keep up her OnlyFans account.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. So you saying that you're 21 reminded me of that.
It keeps us in the prime demographic.
It's what keeps the podcast money flowing.
If people knew how old we were, they wouldn't be interested anymore.
Yeah, nobody likes an old guy.
No. We lose our mystique that way.
Yep, 21 forever.
You got me a very sweet birthday gift.
I like you.
Yep. You got me an old Slabo, an entombed copy of X-Men number.
I can see it from here. 191.
191. First appearance of my favorite robot. And not just the Marvel Universe, but just favorite robot, period. Nimrod.
Is Nimrod sentient? Like, would you say he...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No one controls Nimrod. Nimrod's in charge of himself. He's the head of the neighborhood association and everything.
Yeah.
He's in charge.
So, yep, you own it now. Goes with your Nimrod action figure.
That you also got me.
You're Nimrodded up. I want you to be Nimrod guy, the world's biggest Nimrod fan.
It probably wouldn't be that hard.
I think you might be close.
Yeah.
If anybody else is a bigger Nimrod fan, I'd love for them to get at us.
Once I'm no longer flabby, I'll get a Nimrod tattoo.
You absolutely should get a Nimrod tattoo,
I'll do
regardless of flab.
No, I think I got to take care of this first.
No, you don't. I get plenty of tattoos.
My body has to look like a beautiful canvas before I start filling it with paint.
It makes it better. Once you get tattoos, people assume you're fit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So I can just get it right on my...
Yep, get an 8-ball on your shoulder, and people just be like, that guy works out.
An 8-ball on your shoulder. Ew.
I'm just coming up with that.
You know what? I just realized, a little studio behind the scenes. We're in a larger room.
Oh, yeah.
But we close ourselves in with curtains and stuff so we don't echo as bad.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that yet.
We started recording with the curtains open. We're going to close those now. If you can hear a difference on the podcast, wow, you just got a sneak peek into the world of sound, baby.
A peekers.
Time out.
What are we covering this week, Mike?
Well, first I got to say we're back from closing the curtains. Does it sound $80 different?
It does, for sure. For sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's well worth that small amount of money to sound this much better.
And you know what? This is a perfect chance to say that $80 is provided by and presented by our Patreon accounts. If you, too, want to make this podcast sound $80, $10, $3.99 a week better, you can become a Patreon. And this week on the Patreon, we're going to go through every single number one issue that came out and recommend them. Or not necessarily recommend them.
Rank them.
That's the R word I'm looking for.
There we go. That's great content, and I can't even wait to hear it. You're going to be the one ranking them, so...
This happens a lot when we do a twofer, is I just, give you listicles.
Hey, it's a great format for content, tried and true.
It's a good friendship is what it is. Thanks for letting me rant.
It ain't broke, let's not fix it. The books we're going to be covering today are Deep Beyond, out on Image Comics, and Fear Case on Dark Horse Comics, two independent books that we're very much looking forward to, and we'll see what we think about those on the other side of some comic book news.
Ryan Coogler announced that he is in some type of deal to start a Wakanda television show.
Is it called Wakanda Stories or Wakanda Kingdom?
It has a name like
Something like that.
Yeah. Wakanda is one of those rare Marvel things where it's like, it doesn't need the other Marvel world to be super fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need cameos, in my opinion.
Sometimes it's a refreshing reprieve to be like, oh, we didn't fight in a scroll war.
Yeah.
We were just like chilling over here.
In our paradise of super science.
Right.
In other TV news, not a big two news. Well, I guess it is technically a big two news because
Vertigo, right?
owns it.
Yeah, and Vertigo's no more, so it probably is just DC.
No, dang it. We couldn't do it. We couldn't have a big news that wasn't DC and Marvel. Shame.
You guessed it. We're talking about Sandman.
Neil Gaiman's Sandman. He had I thought American Gods was great. I liked his television show there. Neil Gaiman, no stranger to television.
He owns one.
Yes, he owns a television.
He works in the medium. He's going to be the narrator on Sandman.
Yeah, he likes that. This has an all-star cast. This should have been a television show a long time ago.
I agree. I'm kind of surprised it's just happening now.
It is made for television in a lot of ways, and especially HBO. So I'm so pumped about that.
Yep.
James McAvoy, Magneto, is...
Young Magneto.
Yes, young Magneto. Sorry. I know there's a couple of Magnetos.
Not the Gandalf Magneto.
Is gonna be Morpheus, the Sandman, I guess. Yeah. And then we have Kat Denning. She's wonderful. She's one of the I don't even know what character she's playing, but great. She made it.
Yep. Good job. Good job by you, Kat.
What's your favorite Kat Denning thing?
Fuck, what was it called?
Are you gonna say Party Down? Because that's my favorite.
No, I don't know if I ever finished it.
Is she also in True Blood?
Hulu, Kat Dennings, Dollface.
Dollface.
Oh, such a good show.
Type in True Blood. I want to see if she was actually in True Blood too.
This is great. I love when we
am I confusing her with somebody else?
Google shit we're not sure of in the middle of an audio format podcast.
I don't want to be an idiot.
She's in a couple of the Thor movies. She just popped up in WandaVision this past episode.
Oh, she's in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Sure it was.
Exactly. I'm a big Kat Dennings fan.
Okay.
Anyway, she's in a Simpsons episode.
Oh, she's going to be Death in Sandman.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Oh, that's perfect. That's great. That's that's the best character in Sandman.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about it, except for it's going to be good. I guess here's the thing. The best talking point would be if it were bad. To be like one of the most beloved, if not the most beloved, non-Big Two comic books of all time had a bad television show.
If you put out a list of comic book adapted shows and saw how long it was, and then saw that Sandman was getting made now, or that Why the Last Man hasn't been made yet, is insane. Those would be some of the first things you'd think would get taken care of.
Now, Why the Last Man, I slightly understand.
Why that hasn't been made?
Only because I feel like the production of... No, it doesn't really make sense. I was thinking post-apocalyptic and having...
There's plenty of shows like that.
That's a great point. Yeah. How the hell has Why the Last Man not been made? Great point.
That was one of the first graphic novels that I remember people who didn't really read comics coming up to me and being like, wow, someone recommended that I read this. It blew my mind.
I know the IP is bought. Somebody owns it and stuff. So
they might be making it. I know there's a fan movie somewhere on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's good or not.
If there's a fan movie made of something, it better be a fucking television show.
Yeah.
FX and Hulu in 2021. It's coming. It's coming soon. So yeah, you're right. Sandman, Why the Last Man should be made.
End of list.
End of list. That was news. We hit the news hard last week. We were newsies last week.
That's why we kind of took a week off this week. Old friend Matt Kindt is back. We talked about him just a couple weeks ago when we reviewed Crimson Flower #1. And now we're here to talk about Fear Case #1 on Dark Horse Comics with artist Tyler Jenkins, who you may know from Grass Kings. I loved that book.
I did too.
This book is about the Secret Service trying to find a literal case.
Yes.
There's a box that moves around and tragedy follows throughout history. And no one can quite get a grasp on, is it magic? Is there something fucked up inside of it? Are there secrets inside? What's the deal? But our starring characters have 3 more weeks left on the job before their year with it is up. I think we're basically going to be following them over that 3 weeks while they're scrambling to try to solve this case.
I love it.
So close.
Yes. And if you're on a year on this, you tend to go crazy.
Right.
So, which is
they're at the breaking point of crazy.
yeah, about to go. They're about to go crazy. When I was looking up this comic book, I read an interview that Matt Kindt did with this, and they started off and said, "Hey, Matt, you don't really do horror. What do you think about the first time you're doing a horror book?" And he goes, "You know what? I thought I didn't like horror until I sat around and realized some of my favorite movies are The Shining and the Aliens franchise, which are two
Oh,
favorite movies of our club." Maybe Matt Kindt is one of us.
he would be our friend.
Yes, I think he would be our friend. Those are two of our favorite movies. And so maybe we like the same exact brand of horror that Matt Kindt likes. I would say by this comic book, I do.
He also, are you a Slaughterhouse-Five fan?
I love Slaughterhouse-Five.
He recommended a Slaughterhouse-Five graphic novel on an interview I watched of him recently where he was just like, this is one of the best adaptations I've read in a really long time.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw that existed. I just never...
I know. I've thought about picking it up.
Yeah. So the other thing that I didn't know about this book in reading it, and maybe you did, is that it connects to the Bang universe.
I had no clue.
It very obviously connects to the Bang universe, which we didn't talk about this at the time when we covered Bang, but Bang also connects to the mind management universe.
Yeah.
And so in theory, this is in the Matt Kindtverse.
It is. He's mentioned before that all of his like creator-owned independent books kind of have some basis in the same reality, but we never have really seen them like so literally crossing over or acknowledging each other.
Yes, there's a book that has the word stigmata in it, 18 something of stigmata, that's about this dude. I mean, it's very literally the premise of Bang, and then it's in this book as well, so like they're tied together, which is wonderful. In the trajectory of us being friends and about comic books, like Matt Kindt has always been a topic for us, like a glue for that.
Yeah.
I love that, like, when we first used to talk about Matt Kindt, we would talk about him like indie kind of dude that we like. And now he's easily like top 10 most important indie writers.
I mean, like, he was the guy at Valiant for a really long time.
Right. I think of him as like Jeff Lemire and him as like counterparts. Like they both do they scratch the itch that I want in comic book world.
Yeah.
But it's like, I love that he's going that route too and creating his own little franchise in his own world. And I hope that it has the same effect and stuff.
So we've been with him long enough, or we've read enough of his stories to kind of get a vibe for what sort of story he likes to tell.
Yes.
These like detective thriller sort of stories.
Yeah, like Lovecraftian detective almost.
Do you find that like comfort food when you open up his books, or are you like, oh, more Matt Kindt?
Yeah.
Or do you feel something else?
Here's the problem with Matt Kindt. I love him so much that I'm not even self-aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, more of this. Like
I was so excited to crack this book open.
Yeah. Every single time I read one of his books, I'm just like, oh, I love it. But I love it so much I don't think like, what is it that I love about it?
Right. Yeah. This book didn't necessarily strike me as horror, to be honest. More sci-fi. I mean, there were some jarring scenes where you saw people ripped open.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of the like true detective noir thriller sci-fi. You're right.
I think the more we find out about the case, the maybe scarier it'll get.
Yeah, I think if this is a dumb thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. If this were a movie, it would have been frightening. Because, like, this woman gets a box. She doesn't know what to do with it.
Her ex-husband's giving it to her.
Yes, and it starts to kind of haunt her.
Yeah.
And she realizes she has a task at hand that she has to give it to somebody else. And she's informed to give it to somebody she hates because it's going to have a tragic. And she actually touches it and has, like, an acid experience.
Yeah.
And then, like, she gives it to her now cheating husband, and it, like, blows him up with glass and takes out his organs. And it's like, oh, fuck. This is bad.
And she's spaced out during any of it. I don't think she remembers any of this happening.
No.
The deal is, they refer to it, too, as kind of like a chainmail hoax or something.
Which I love, yeah.
Where it's like, pass this on, or one of your loved ones ends up with it.
Did you in your mind play up like, okay, well, who would I give it to? If I got given it to, you did? Yeah.
Certainly.
Did you go as far as like thinking how you actually would give it to them?
I think I would probably just leave it on their doorstep. I don't think I could walk up to someone I hate and be like, fuck you, here's a fear box.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking that I would just like text them ominously and be like, I have a gift for you.
Yeah.
And then they would be like,
So your worst enemy is a friend enough that you could text them and say you have a gift for them?
my worst enemy, the person who I dislike the most in the world, I do have their cell phone number. And I could easily text them and be like,
Yeah.
I mean, they would be like, what the fuck? This is weird.
Yeah.
But
right.
so weird that it would be intriguing.
Right. I got to find out what it is.
Yeah. Okay, I guess. And I would also say this. It has a lot of money in it. I'd say that phrase.
I'm too chicken shit.
Would you?
I would just leave it somewhere, I think.
Oh no, I'd go.
Yeah.
I'd like it. I like conflict. I don't want to watch them get blown up though or anything.
Yeah.
So, I'll say this. I went through this. This sounds horrible. I went through this mental gymnastics before I found out what the box did to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I know what the box does to you,
Do you think we should have spent more time not knowing what the box does?
no.
It really makes me want to buy the second issue.
Yeah, for the comic book, it happened exactly perfectly the way
Yeah.
it needed to. For my mental exploration adventure, I was like, ooh, I know I wouldn't have given it to that person. I would have given it to a truly evil individual,
Right.
not just my worst enemy.
Right. And part of me wonders, too, if the two detectives actually track down the case, they're going to be in the same situation, are they not?
Yeah, this is, I mean, what I love.
Ultimately, you can't solve the case because the case needs to keep moving.
Yeah, what I love about this book, and this is so Matt Kindt, one of the guys is in love with this idea of this book that explores different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
They're chasing down a case at the end of the year that when you follow it, you go crazy. And the thing that they're finding, if you touch it, makes you go crazy. At some point, we're going to enter psychosis or something like crazy is going to happen.
Right.
Which is really rad.
Next up, we've got another first issue. Doi! From another creator that we also love. Deep Beyond on Image Comics. From writer Mirka Andolfo. From the Unnatural series and Unsacred series.
And Mercy.
I've read several of these books.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very hot and horny. This book wasn't, though.
No. Mirka loves to write the romance unabashedly. Does she write the romance?
Yeah.
This club loves her. Image Comics loves her. Italy loves her.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
She's Italian.
The whole country.
Yep.
And now she has a new Image book of which not a lot of romance.
No, I was surprised.
I was too.
The variant I got was a little, lusty looking, too.
Mm-hmm. Although she writes that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
her stories are wonderful. They're amazing
Oh, yeah.
and really good. So I'm not surprised that this book.
You're not reading them just to be horny.
No, I don't think anybody should read her stuff just to be horny. and I love that she can move out
It's
of
a
that.
good side effect.
Yeah, I love that she's moving out of that brand.
Yeah.
Here we have a world that is underwater.
I think so. I had a moment where I realized this mid-comic. It's starting to make more sense to me.
That it's underwater.
I think this is a future where maybe the ice caps have melted and now, most of the country's underwater.
Right. And it happened in the year 2000, and the year is 2084, which I liked a lot, which was interesting.
Okay, so the synopsis of the book acknowledges the Millennium Bug.
Okay, I love that, and I
Yeah.
love this for a very specific reason that you will diverge from me.
Okay.
That is a very vaporwavy thing to be into and do,
Uh-huh.
and anything that nods to vaporwave, I'm just like, you did it,
Yeah.
you're awesome.
Uh-huh.
So I love that they acknowledge the 2000 bug.
It's such a weird pop cultural thing to go back to and give credence to
Yes,
that it just weirded me out. I was like, I don't understand.
it took me out of it because I was so into it. I love that you caught that as well.
Yeah.
And so they're underworld, and I will say this is one confusing thing to me. There's essentially a virus that makes them like poison ivy or grow plant stuff, kind of like Swamp Thing.
They're surrounded by water, but the water's tainted.
If the water touches you, Is that right?
I think that's the case. You get like these like blister bubbles all over your body.
That can happen to you, and that's one scenario.
Yeah.
This book had. I will say this: as good as this book was, it was confusing. I had to straight up read it twice.
I agree. So another peek behind the curtains, the literal curtains that we fixed earlier in this episode, is that we've got a little cheat sheet up of just some notes. So as we're talking about things, we can just remember like, oh, the artist on this also does Star Wars Dr. Aphra. I always write short one-sentence synopsises for each of these books. And for this one, I was like, I don't know what to write. Like, I'm not sure what like the quick, concise...
I think we should
what
read.
this book was
I think we
about.
should read what you wrote.
Okay, I wrote spy scientists and trust fund terrorists in an underwater future.
That about sums it up.
Is that even close to right?
Yes. I mean, I think I was going to say there's this whole trust fund terrorist thing that doesn't tie in that I actually found really intriguing.
I loved that part.
And then I was like, why wasn't that the story?
I think it shows you that there's like a resistance in the world that's looking to just like shut down the systems in place and the people in power.
Right.
By going after like their guards and their kids and shit like that.
Yeah, there's this whole it doesn't really it doesn't like do its service for us to explain the scientists and what happened to them and stuff.
Right.
But I will say that at one point in time, the scientists who have to go rescue another scientist have to capture somebody, and I think the capture and action scene and them making him like do stuff was like really good action for the end of the book.
Yes.
That kept me being like, okay, I care about this now. As confusing as it was.
Yes.
When it got to the 10% end, I was like, I'm here.
I totally agree.
Okay. Good.
My instinct is that it's going to be more of that in the second issue.
Yeah. They had a lot to get through.
We've got two people essentially in, water suits so they're not turning into pimply monsters. They're trying to get to someone that I think there's other characters in the story who are briefly introduced that don't want that person found.
Right.
And so that has at least some layers there that make this a little more like politically interesting, not just like Mario saving the princess, but like turns out Luigi's a double agent and is working for the bad guys. It's going to have something like that.
Yeah. It definitely is like baked into a bunch of different ways where it can go. I don't know if this is a limited series, but it's I don't see this wrapping up in 5 issues if it is. So,
do you hate underwater levels in video games?
Whoa, that's not what I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna ask me if I hate underwater versus space or which I prefer.
Oh, this is a great conversation too. Which one do we want to do first?
Let me.
We're gonna tackle both.
Let me answer your question first. So, okay, when you ask me that question, I go straight to side scroller 2Ds. And the physics changes. In that, and it's a real just like a palate cleanse, and I don't mind it. I'm thinking Donkey Kong, Mario, Sonic, all of those things. I do find it very stressful if your character cannot hold their breath underwater for long periods of time.
I hate that. My anxiety level raises so much when Sonic's looking for another like bubble to gulp.
Yeah. So that I don't like, but I do love Metal Mario sinking to the bottom.
That's cool.
It feels like that's the mechanics I want in every video game.
My general opinion is that water levels bye.
See ya?
I'm not a fan.
Okay. That's a good take. That's a really good take.
I hate them.
Okay.
It's like, let's just change the physics for like one part.
And don't make it water.
Well, I guess don't make it water, but it's also like you've dialed in the whole rest of this game, and then you're going to change it all for this one clumsy part that it's like, well, it's just one part, so let's not spend a lot of time on it. And it's just like, now it's just an annoying fucking thing to get through.
It's like hanging out with your in-laws.
Explain.
It's a change 'em up thing that it happens in life.
Oh, yeah. It's a normal dinner and we follow these processes, but it's a little bit different.
Right.
It's someone else's family.
Yeah. And you're like, I have to get through this. Mm-hmm. It's not, I don't hate it. There is food. I do get caloric intake.
Yeah. There is a reward.
Yes. Right, the metaphor was loose at best. Okay, which if you said underwater craziness or space, in like make 'em ups, which do you prefer?
Oh, this is make 'em ups.
Or I guess
I've got two different answers, I guess, then.
well, give me both of them.
In the real world, I think underwater is so much more interesting than space. The whole definition of space is like nothingness.
Yes.
There's like 99.9% of nothing in outer space, and then 0.00001% something. Whereas on our own planet, that doesn't cost like $1 billion fucking dollars to send a rover to, there's probably tons of undiscovered species and things we could learn about our planet by like exploring the bottom of the ocean. Why don't we spend more time and resources on like figuring our own shit out and like maintaining our own Earth rather than thinking about like what else is out there and what planet we're going to destroy next. I think part of the mentality
100% agree with you.
Part of the mentality of like going to space encapsulates that like we don't care about the thing we're on.
Right.
And I hate that.
I love that take. Find Atlantis. Find where Godzilla pops up out of.
Right.
You know, go to the bottom. I totally agree with you. However, in world building stuff,
Sci-fi, yeah.
yes. Do you have a different answer?
I think so, because in sci-fi, our moon would have a colony with a different race on it and a whole other world to explore.
Yeah. I mean, I do, and this is going to sound like a joke. I love Waterworld, the movie.
Oh, man. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I remember hating it.
I loved it when it came out. I loved it a couple of years ago when I watched it. I think I would love it now.
Yeah.
It holds up, you know?
It was one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time.
Yeah, people loved saying that.
Because it was so bad, and it was astounding that they spent so much money on it.
Yeah, they don't say it about Forrest Gump, which is not as good a movie, in my opinion.
I beg to differ.
Yeah, you and the general pub.
Mm-hmm.
But people who like this podcast, I
would generally think that Waterworld is better than Forrest Gump.
Guarantee you.
This is going to be the
I'll put
thing
the Budget King's
destroys our friendship.
I'll put the Budget King stamp of approval on that.
Okay.
All right, most people, our demo is gonna choose Waterworld over Forrest Gump.
Well, I'm sure there's a really easy way to find this out, and we're gonna get really high engagement on this conversation.
I can't wait. Poll it, Greg. Greg, go out there. You make a little Twitter poll. Have people.
I don't know if this is even worth Greg's time.
It is worth Greg's time. It's
okay.
worth. Well, I mean,
it's just which is better, Waterworld or Forrest Gump?
Yeah. Are you gonna feel bad when you lose?
No.
Okay. Well, then it's worth our time. I want to take care of you mentally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally worth our time.
Which is the better movie?
Waterworld or
Not
Forrest?
which do you like better? I want to get this question down.
Okay, the question is, which do you enjoy more?
Which is objectively the better movie?
You want the question to be which is objectively a better movie?
Yeah.
Fine. I can't wait. This is the poll I've always wanted. Fuck you, Tom Hanks.
Whoa, America's Dad getting dissed on fic. That's us. That's what we do every week. We talk about first issues and then argue about dumb shit nobody cares about. And we'll do it next week, and we'll do it more on our Patreon. Like Budget King said, if you'd like to support us there, we appreciate that, and we'll love you.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to put in the news. Greg and Caitlin said we can mention why they're not here.
Oh, that's right.
Greg and Caitlin, as you may or may not have known, were with child and had a baby boy.
Yes.
They gave birth, or Caitlin did, and Greg watched and smoked a cigar.
It was successful.
Yes, everybody's healthy. Teddy Theodore is their child's name. He is a picture-perfect baby.
Good-looking kid.
This baby could not look better. I was blown away how cute this kid is.
Yep.
Greg and Caitlin are respectively attractive in their own right.
Yes.
But the kid they made is like, get this kid on some Gerber shit.
You're saying already best-looking person in their family.
Yeah.
They'll be happy to hear that, I think.
Yeah, wonderful. I have not met young Teddy yet. I cannot wait.
Young T.
But yeah.
First nickname?
Young T, yeah. But yeah, born, and so they're taking a little well-earned sabbatical.
Yep.
Off the podcast.
We miss them, but they'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.